We're gonna do a clutch and a flywheel.
Gonna work on this flywheel here. Got to get these bolts out. They're real tight. So what we did is just cram a breaker bar up there on the crank. One guy holds this and the other guy just uggas and duggas to get that off. Just like that, flywheel came off, no problem, but we found a new problem. Rear main's leaking. However, if we pretend we didn't see that, the next job we have, pilot bearing came out with the old flywheel. That's different. Maybe it's a Subaru thing, but here's our new one. Let's go find our new flywheel. Brand new one, no pilot bearing. So we just gotta press that guy in there.
Plop it in there.
Boop. This is the bearing install tool we use. We put that on the bearing there and
a little bit of gear oil around it.
A little bit of gear oil and then just
set it there and just lightly tap.
Don't put this in backwards. Dale just pointed out. You got a little recess here and that goes over the little middle part of the shaft there. Another way to look at this, if you flip it over, you just want these little studs here to stick out facing you when you're installing it. 52.8 foot-pounds star pattern on these. We got ourselves a torque wrench. We'll get her done. One person's gonna have to hold that bar to keep the engine from turning. The kit that we got didn't come with new flywheel bolts, and I am not a fan of reusing flywheel bolts, but if you have to, just throw some red Loctite on it, because then when you get it down to the torque spec, the Loctite will glue it into place there. Last bolt. Boom. Now we just gotta torque them. And then we'll clean the flywheel after we torque it.
53 pounds, right?
Yeah, that was 53 Dale. Yep. Dale's gonna go ahead and just spray our flywheel up there to make sure it's clean for the install here. This is our new clutch. And then we got our throwout bearing, brand new, sounds real nice. Pressure plate and then some lube. The lube goes in these little splines here, but we're probably just gonna put it on the input shaft before install. A locator tool. This centers your clutch so that it's perfect when you go to put the transmission in. The input shaft lines up with the pilot bearing being where it's supposed to, the splines lining up with the clutch, and so on and so forth. And then these little guys here are just the brand new bolts to attach. And these pressure plate bolts, I think, are 11.8 foot-pounds. So we'll torque them down the proper way. No thread locker on these guys. Clutch has two sides to it. This side's got a recess. This side's pressed out. The pressed out side faces you. Put your install tool in. And then this is gonna locate up at the pilot bearing. So we'll just slide her on up here like that. And now we can put our pressure plate on and it's all held in place the way it should be. All the bolts are in. Dale's got his torque wrench set and he's just gonna pop on about 12 foot-pounds while I hold the breaker bar. So there's two ways you can run this now. We're gonna pull this guy out. It's not tight, it just pops right out. But it becomes important that the splines with the transmission and the engine line up perfectly. I like to move the tail shaft when the transmission's in gear to get to line up, but if Dale moves the crank just a little bit, we should see the splines move with the flywheel. So that's another way that you can get that to move if everything's not lining up when you're going to the install. This is the old throwout bearing. Quiet now, you can hear it. And anyways, it just holds on like this. These little clipper doos. Yeah, put the phone down to do this. These are those clips I was telling you about. And then this guy just pops off. The new guy pops on. And then we'll attach. But we're gonna clean this up just a little bit first. Starting to think what we thought was a bad rear main seal is just some of this clutch material that built up on the back of that engine. But anyways, pop that guy in, attach with the little clips there, and we're ready to roll.